I think probably the first thought that comes to mind is as a libertarian, you're already kind of situated outside, or at least you perceive yourself as outside the system, and you perceive yourself as the person who sees the thing that nobody else sees, the thing that's right in front of us, but nobody else is noticing it.
Yep.
And there's a very similar dynamic to that with orthodoxy. So you're kind of already primed to have that mindset to view the world that way. And then my guess is that it would probably be everyone's probably going to have a different experience, kind of a different story. For me, it was kind of it seemed almost like happenstance. I just happened to kind of come across people at the right time. Obviously, in hindsight, I know it's not, but um, it. I think as you're a libertarian, kind of trying to grapple with these issues and solve these issues, you start off kind of more thinking more locally, at least locally within the American borders, and you start like, well, how do we solve this problem? Oh, well, okay, well, now that I see this problem, there's all these other problems out here that problem brings up. So now, how do we come up with a solution that's like an umbrella that covers all of those issues? And as you start to think about that, then well, here's all these other issues out here, and so you get both conceptually and geographically, you start thinking broader and broader. And as you start, at least for me, as I began recognizing what the system of liberalism is, began recognizing that libertarianism is not outside the 3x5 card of allowable opinion, to borrow a phrase. That it's actually on, it's still on that 3x5 card. Um, I think it for me was probably a matter of history, a combination of history and becoming aware of global issues a lot more, and starting to see because obviously orthodoxy, so to this point, really orthodoxy is still pretty young in America. I mean, the first Orthodox Church came to America in the 17 mid late 1700s, but it hasn't made major cultural inroads in the United States to this point. That's really kind of starting to pick up now. For the most part, people don't even know what it is. When I first was exposed to it, was it 2 years ago now? To me, I'd never even really heard of it. And my perception of it was that these are just kind of like weird looking Catholics with beards. And once I became aware of it, then suddenly I couldn't stop seeing it. I started recognizing it everywhere, or at least recognizing the absence of it. You realize that there's a void that this thing fills. And then for me, it was the historical context of it, watching the development, the evolution of ideas I went back to the Reformation, and then realized that the Reformation was kind of the outworking of stuff that had happened before that. So I went back further. And so I don't know really for most libertarians, I don't know if they take the historical trajectory or if they take the geographic trajectory. I don't know what it is that clicks with them, but I think probably the root of it is what I said about it being an outside perspective, and you're already primed to take on an outside perspective and kind of be the weird one in the room.
Mm-hmm.